with the November Capital Program Committee meeting. Members of the public who have registered to speak, Ms. King.
Mr. Chairman, we have 8 members of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers please adhere to the MTA rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers, in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, that we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware there will be a warning beep letting you know you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be Jack Connors. Following Jack Connors will be Christopher Greif.
Good afternoon. I'm Jack Connors, Research and Communications Associate at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA. Good afternoon. I'm Jack Connors, Research and Communications Associate at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. With the city on edge due to conflicts far beyond the MTA service territory and hate crimes on the rise, it's more important than ever that riders feel safe on this system. A host of shoving episodes have grabbed headlines in recent weeks, leading strap hangers to cringe fearfully against poles while they wait on platforms, or some to forego the system altogether. That's unacceptable. We understand the constraints imposed by our legacy system make it impossible to install platform screen doors at many stations. That said, there are actionable alternatives outlined in the Track Trespassing Task Force that we hope to see implemented. This includes laser intrusion detection systems that send automatic alerts whenever a person or object above a certain size enters the track, platform blue lights shown to reduce suicide, and where feasible, basic guardrails on platforms that give passengers added peace of mind. Most of all, the public deserves to know the preventative work the MTA is doing to check subway shoving and the service disruptions that come with track intrusions. We're happy to see the estimated cost of the platform screen door pilot reduced by $8 million, but the start date has been pushed back from this past August to sometime in 2024. This is one area where being transparent with riders and publicizing progress towards our shared goal of having 0 shoving incidents and 0 suicides can only increase confidence. Riders are depending on a lot of projects in this month's committee book, from untangling Jamaica to achieving 97% accessibility on LIRR to replacing the Park Avenue Viaduct. All of it hinges on implementing congestion pricing. We are eagerly awaiting the TMRB recommendations in next week's board vote and urge the MTA to be more vocal about what failing to implement congestion pricing will mean for its capital program and the transit system we all rely upon. Once again, the riding public deserves to hear it like it is. New Jersey's regressive, misguided lawsuit constitutes a fundamental threat to the betterment of our region's transit, not to mention public health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Christopher Greif. Following Christopher is Jason Anthony.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's a long day, but let me just want to make this simple as easy. As we're doing a lot of capital work, we need to continue advocating for more, not just elevators and ramps, but as on the railroads end, we need those special buttons that say we need the conductors or the train drivers to be alert there's an accessible customer at those stations. Those devices work really well, but they're not enough in stations on the railroad. For example, Main Street Flushing is one. Metro North, I know it's starting to work on, but we still need to remind them that, yes, emergencies are important, but an accessible customer is in a certain boarding area. It will go quicker and safer for them so they can get on and off the train quicker and safer. And I hope we can work on additional cameras, not just on the stations, but as a lot of our advocates have been mentioning, on the buses have been getting cameras, but so is certain areas of stations, like some of our board members mentioned the back entrance needs additional cameras where they can see where the person is going in or out the gates, or doing fare invasion, or just going up or down the stairs, or using their fare machines to energize their MetroCard, or soon the Omni vending machines. We need to continue advocating for a more accessibility stations, as well as make more accessible signages at stations that already have elevators or ramps to access them where they can get to the platform. We have seen them on stations, but we need to see more in other boroughs. Manhattan is one, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, and the Bronx. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jason Anthony. Following Jason Anthony is Bruce Haynes.
Thank you, Miss Ken. Hi, Jano. Hey, Jamie. After a very, very long day indeed, let's talk about accessibility, shall we? In the materials, I saw that your department, Jamie, CND, is having about 8 projects in the Long Island Railroad territory. That's good news. But we need more. For example, in my neck of the woods in Brooklyn, I have Atlanta Tomorrow Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue. But what about East New York? That is at street level, but on top of it, you have the Canarsie line at station at Atlantic Avenue. We could do think outside the box, having a ramp in that station, and also thinking about Broadway Junction, Eastern Parkway, Van Siglen Avenue, like I call it. Build, let's say, ramps and elevators at that huge complex that oftentimes, Jamie and Jano, the escalators are broken. And a person like me who is about to hit 40 in about 2.5 years, my knees often hurts. And going up those escalators when it's broken is no joke. But also we need audio announcements when the elevator and escalators are not working, or something like Washington Metro has, that near the platform they have lights that blink indicating when the train arrives. Let's think about those ideas, and I'll see you next Wednesday in the full board.
Here is Bruce Haynes. Following Bruce Haynes is Charlton D'Souza.
Well, good afternoon. I spent the entire time from trying to speak to you last this morning in trying to find a way to print out my written comment. I wasn't going to come here, but because I made a written comment, but I couldn't send it and I couldn't print it out either. So I'll have to do that before Wednesday, and then maybe I'll come and present it to you, if nothing else. I wanted to say that last meeting was so interesting, you know, and you can tell you are making progress in things like management and stuff. There's an improvement. It's pretty clear to see. And but with construction, it's important to know what to construct. And particularly, well, I mean, I can say that with the with elevators, you certainly know how to do that, and I've changed my attitude towards that, although I never said anything about it because it's not politic, but it was because of Jano. I realized that I might someday be, and his mother, that I might be the poor person who has to try and walk up the stairs at 80 or something. So I'm glad that that's getting done. Further, what was it? Oh, I was going to give you a story about the Long Island Railroad. Because of that little yellow brick gas station in 1930, going from east of 150th Street into the station would have been right aligned with the station. That's 69.75 degrees going east and 149.25 going west. And it was right straight in line with the station. They couldn't do that because of the gas station, and there are a lot of other things. That was the first place where it went wrong.
Please, thank you. Next speaker is Charlton D'Souza. Following him is Rachel Foss.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza, president of Passengers United. I had called Tim Minton and Shanif Rivera to find out the status of the Roosevelt Island track work at 21st Street Queensbridge. Roosevelt Island, and Lex 63rd. Roosevelt Island residents are at the breaking point with the delays, the mess, and the long lines on the tram. And sometimes the shuttle train breaks down. So I want to know how much of the track on the Queens bound side has been put in, how much has been put in on the Manhattan bound side, and when is this project finally going to be over? Because it's messing up the Queens Boulevard line. Every day we have long delays, and local service starts at 8:30 in the evening, which is getting on everyone's last nerve. So we need an update on that. And I also wanted to know, what is the status of cameras in the subway cars? How many subway cars have cameras? And were there cameras in the subway car where the shooting happened yesterday? That's what I wanted clarification on, because the MT said over a year ago they were going to put cameras in. We still haven't seen them. I would like to make a side note, and I would like to thank everyone at the MT and that's stood with us. I wanted to share some good news. Passengers United is now a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We got our certificate of incorporation in September, and I want to thank our board members and our team members and my colleagues for standing with me as well. And we're very honored to serve the riding public. And we look forward to working with the MT board, New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and just the MT family on different things as we go along. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rachel Foss, followed by Matthew Bucky's Highland.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Foss. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for reInvent Albany. We advocate for more transparent and accountable New York government, including authorities like the MTA. We strongly support congestion pricing because it's the law and has been shown globally to reduce motor vehicle congestion, air pollution, and travel times, and will raise $15 billion to restore and improve transit. Our latest analysis of MTA data shows that in addition to all of these benefits, congestion pricing will create tens of thousands of local jobs throughout New York State, largely from the capital plan. It's well known that the MTA provides massive economic value to the city and state by moving millions of people to their jobs, school, entertainment, healthcare, and shopping. Less known is that from 2014 to 2022, the MTA directly paid $26 billion to its vendors located in communities across New York State, as shown on our interactive webpage. We encourage you to go to our website, reinventalbany.org, to see our new online tool that collates MTA's payments to New York vendors. And includes more than 200 fact sheets showing the top 5 vendors in each state Senate, state assembly, and congressional district in New York State. Previously, we'd published the details of MTA spending on companies in New Jersey and across the United States. Again, this shows that every single state, Senate, and congressional district within New York State has companies receiving MTA payments. 147 of the 150 assembly districts, or 98%, are recipients of MTA spending. And in addition to the businesses contracting with the MTA, we'd also like to remind that the capital plan provides jobs for thousands of the MTA's frontline employees. Our analysis from October of this year found that $3.2 billion, or 21% of the $15 billion raised by congestion pricing, will fund in-house capital work done by MTA workers, largely represented by TWU Local 100. Thanks so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, Matthew Bucky's Highland, followed by Alida Dupree.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President Springer, and commissioners. Earlier today, I spoke at the New York City Transit meeting about the possibility for the Staten Island Railway to maybe expand from Tottenville to Perth Amboy, New Jersey. That would be something that you would consider in your next capital plan in the next upcoming years, so people could pay $2.90 rather than paying $17 and soon to be $17.73 at the Outer Bridge Crossing, which is a facility operated by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. It would be beneficial for people, if they live like in the Western side, they could take the New Jersey Transit from Penn Station to Perth Amboy, and then the railroad could pick up and take them to Tottenville, Pleasant Plains, etc. it is going to be really interesting what comes out next with congestion pricing be implemented. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great and productive day. Have a great evening. May God bless each and every one of you. And I'll turn back to Ms. King, who will introduce Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Alita Dupree.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Jano Lieber and members. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. I'm going to talk about Capitol Day. And I see we're going to talk about ADA on the rail and Park Avenue Viaduct. Those are very, very important. It shows this background. George Harrison said, "Go do it, gotta go through that door," in his song, "Love Comes to Everyone." And I think back to in 1980, when I visited Grand Central Terminal for the first time and I walked through one of these doors and boarded a train. How do we frame our capital program with the ultimate goal of full participation? Obviously, this train in the picture, when it leaves, it has its red lights on it. It is going to go over the Park Avenue Viaduct. I had no idea that viaduct was still original 1893 construction. Paint job looks really good on it, but any of this has to be replaced. Some of the Park Avenue tunnel is almost 200 years old, and work has been done over the years. And I mentioned that in my time on the system and using the escalators and the elevators, and I reiterate, I had good elevator experiences. Didn't find a single one that was out of service, and only one escalator that was out of service. It's not a perfect system, but we're working very hard at this, and it worked out pretty well for me. I'm always mindful of it because someday I might have a bad day where maybe I'm hurting a little bit. But really, I think about that it takes a lot to keep this going. So there's a lot of important things we're going to talk about today, and I look forward to hearing it. Thank you.
Chair, that concludes the public comment session.
Thank you, Ms. King. Copies of the October Capital Program Committee minutes have been distributed and are available on the websites. Changes or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Jones. Second, Mr. Chu. All in favor? The minutes are approved. Are any changes to the work plan, Mr. Torres Springer?
No changes to the work plan, Chair.
Thank you. Would you proceed with the President's report then?
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee. Today we have an update from Anthony Tufano of our newly created Railroads Business Unit. Anthony led our successful third track project on Long Island, and we'll talk about how he and Andrew Wilson and Ziona Rubin and their teams under the leadership of Mark Roche at C&D are applying those lessons to the extensive portfolio of investments that we're making throughout Long Island and Metro North on those networks. Before we get to Anthony, I have a few items to report. On this slide, you can see a photo of the newly replaced Bowling Green 4-5 station escalator, which reopened earlier this month, 1 month ahead of schedule. I'm thinking of asking all of our contractors to try and act as if the entire executive leadership of the MTA is looking out over their project site day in and day out, because that proved remarkably effective, even if we can't handle it literally in every case. Before we get into it, I want to emphasize first today that our focus is and must be on safety above all else. Everyone who shows up to work for the MTA has the paramount right to get home to their families at the end of the workday. This is especially poignant today as we mourn the loss of an MTA track worker who was conducting flagging operations in support of New York City Transit work overnight. I know Rich Davey reported on this at the Transit Committee. We're still gathering details on that, but I can say that C&D's safety organization continues to make every effort to promote safety, with a new safety management system being rolled out that includes new contract requirements, rigorous new training, and a new digital management system. And we're ramping up safety inspections over the coming months. We send the message to our contractors, and this is up and down our organization and our consultants every day in every way we can, that there will be no compromising on safety within our capital program. November has been another big month for completions, especially the state of good repair priorities that keep our system functional. Right before the holidays last week, we celebrated the completion of a major improvement to the busiest station in Queens at Flushing Main Street, which sees 44,000 riders per day. We added 2 new entrances to the station and 8 new stairways and rehabilitated 8 existing stairways for improvements to 16 stairways in total. But this work goes beyond capital maintenance. It's really about rebalancing the flow of customers entering the station to improve the customer experience. Many of us, know how busy this station is and how busy this neighborhood is, and it was great to see that we were able to provide more access on Roosevelt Avenue south of Main Street, which hadn't been there before. We were pleased to take Representative Grace Meng, who is a steadfast supporter of transit improvements, along with the rest of the New York delegation in Congress on a tour of the station. Also, last week, we celebrated with a very strong turnout from community advocates, making the 7th Avenue station on the F&G in Brooklyn fully ADA accessible. We added 3 elevators here at a busy intersection and made major improvements to the platform and customer access corridors, with more to come in an upcoming station renewal project. As I mentioned that day, this one had particular resonance for me, having personally carried a stroller up and down those exact stairs with my now 14-year-old daughter many times. So this was a huge achievement for the MTA. This was ADA station completion number 7 this year for the MTA, and we've made 8 stations accessible in total, counting a public-private partnership with Macy's in downtown Brooklyn, and this is a torrid pace. One of the findings in our 20-year needs assessment was that as we build more escalators and elevators, we also need to work to maintain and replace them. To that end, our ADA Package 2, which we usually focus on making stations newly ADA accessible, also includes replacement of older elevators at 2 stations, including this one, the Flushing Avenue station on the J&M, where 3 new elevators opened last month. We were happy to light up cell service from all 3 major cell carriers in the tunnels leading from Atlantic to Jamaica and the whole Grand Central Madison tunnel to Queens before the Thanksgiving holiday. Our expectations as riders are changing, and uninterrupted connectivity to stay on that Zoom call or stream the latest episode of Squid Games is a must, and we're pleased to be able to provide that service throughout those tunnel corridors. We're embarking on getting cell service to all of our subway tunnels, as we announced earlier this year, and we'll have updates on that work soon. We're also starting construction work on the G-Train signal modernization project, which is our first design-build CBTC project. Later this week, contractors will begin installation of new cable racking systems, which is an innovative approach that MTA embraced on projects like the Canarsie and Rutgers 2 projects that will greatly increase the efficiency of cable installation. So this crosstown project, although fairly recently awarded, is moving forward quickly as a design-build project. We started the rollout of Omni vending machines in the subway system last month as well. This is another crucial step in making Omni available to those that may not have tap-and-go card capability yet, or may just be warming up to it as we transform payments across the system. Work is continuing on many components of Omni. We've been eagerly awaiting a final rebaselining proposal from our vendor Cubic, which we expect to receive imminently so that we can lock in a final scope and schedule as soon as possible. There's work left to do, but keep in mind, we've seen increasing levels of tap-and-go use throughout our system, thanks to having rolled out validators across the subway and bus system. On the day of the marathon last month, we saw a new record, 58.5% Omni use, tap-and-go use throughout the system, which is a great marker, and that'll continue rising. Looking ahead to the future of the system, state of good repair of the existing system is our huge priority, but we continue to expand to address the needs of historically underserved transit-dependent communities. We were proud to stand with Secretary Buttigieg, Governor Hochul, Majority Leader Schumer, and many others last month at 125th Street and Park Avenue to announce we have a fully funded project to extend 2nd Avenue subway to that critical part of East Harlem with 3 new stations, adding more than 100,000 new daily riders to the Q line. More to come on this project as we are already in the midst of procurement for early works. And we also had noticed that Metro North Penn Access, where construction is well underway, will receive $1.6 billion in federal grant funds to support this important project that brings Metro North into Penn Station and adds 4 new stations in the eastern Bronx, another community much deserving of improved transit access. And that grant funding is much needed, and we'll be back to the board with an update about how we're able to take advantage of that grant funding in the new year. We're looking at how we advance the governor's priority Interborough Express, which uses existing freight lines to better connect Brooklyn and Queens and scored very high in our comparative evaluation in the 20-year needs assessment. This month, we held 2 town halls in Brooklyn and Queens, and a third is set for tomorrow evening in Sunset Park. These town halls come as we are advancing environmental review on the project. I think there's been great turnout and great interest and great positive support for this project, so it's a good sign as we move forward into capital planning for the next 5-year program. Part of our capital planning for the next program, which is focused on state of good repair and improvement of the existing system, we've been leading state of good repair tours, including this one, where elected officials and a number of board members toured the Livonia shop, which is simply too small and outmoded to service trains on the 3 line and needs an upgrade if we're going to continue to improve service. So thank you to the board members for joining that tour and for supporting our planning efforts here as we move into the next program. While these are all signs that the future is bright, there are areas of concern, particularly in the short term, as we look ahead. As the board knows, congestion pricing is foundational to the capital program. It will raise $15 billion, or 30% of the 2020 to 2024 program. And that money looms especially large at this point in time. It makes up nearly 50% of the remaining funding in the program after all of the awards that we've made, billions and billions of dollars of awards for critical projects. With the lawsuit from New Jersey, it is at risk. Despite the benefits to the vast majority of New Jersey commuters who use transit, New Jersey politicians have opposed congestion pricing. On the merits, the MTA is extremely confident. The environmental review and community outreach that we undertook were very thorough, but with any lawsuit comes risk, especially of delay, and we can't award contracts that would be paid for by congestion pricing until the funding is fully secure. So starting this year, as we've been saying for some time, some priority projects will be delayed. In the book today, you'll notice that the Fulton CBTC project and some other projects are delayed into next year, which is an unfortunate result of this risk. We're working on strategies that could mitigate delays to other projects, including ADA stations, of which we have a lot of ADA stations to be funded by congestion pricing, and other key projects across New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. But until the lawsuit is resolved, this risk remains and will have an impact. And I do want to thank and acknowledge our Deputy Chief Development Officer, Tim Mulligan, who's been managing the complexity of this dance we're doing to manage the remaining funding in the program, and of course our General Counsel, Evan Iceland, who runs the most effective procurement shop in the Western Hemisphere, but also the most nimble one, and has been able to adapt to some of the risks that we've been describing. So certainly more discussion of this to come. But these are the unfortunate realities of having to deal with the risks of delay to congestion pricing. Before turning it over to Anthony Tufano, who will give our railroads update, I want to take a moment to introduce Suresh Payeti, who will now be leading our independent engineering consultant team, taking over for Joe DeVito, who retired earlier this year. Welcome, Suresh, and I'll turn it over to Anthony for his report.
Thanks, Jamie. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll roll right in. I know we're behind on time, trying to catch up a little bit, but just to give a little bit of my background, as Jamie said, came over from Third Track. Fantastic project, tons of experience I've learned on that project, and I really want to bring that over to the Railroads Business Unit. That project was centered around teamwork, building a team, a project management team with the contractor. We managed that project with one common goal, and that was bringing the project in on time and on budget. We need to build a team now at Metro North and Long Island Railroad as one in the Railroads Business Unit. To do so, we need to have common goals. Also, we're unifying our contract documents with the help of MTA C&D's Design Services Office, which will lead to better procurements in the future. We're also bringing the entire team together to train. We want to put them together in a room to train, learn their own experiences, ask questions, and grow and learn from each other. In addition to that, we're setting up our organizational charts exactly the same and opening up opportunities for the staff to cross-train and actually move over to the other unit if possible. We want to put the best teams forward to build these complex projects with one goal, and that's project delivery in mind. Moving on to our commitments for the year, we committed $485 million to date, and we have another $779 million in procurement. Our completions of $559 million to date, with another $1 billion forecasted to be completed by the end of the year. So we're very busy. We have $6.3 billion in active projects in different phases of design, construction, and all the different asset categories. Moving on to our project updates now. Before I get into the current project, I just want to give a little background about our Croton Harmon shop. This has been 6 projects spanning several capital programs, close to $2 billion invested in this unbelievable shop. 10 miles of track were installed, 50 switches, 10 buildings, approximately 750,000 square feet of space. This is the model for shops moving forward. We put a short video together because I said last time, pictures do not do this justice on what we just are very close to completing. So hopefully this works. Whoops.
Over the past 25 years and 5 capital programs, the MTA and Metro North have been busy transforming the Metro North Railroad Harmon Yard. And now, in 2023, all of the hard work is culminating in the completion of the new 400,000 square feet Harmon Yard running repair and support shops. With the opening of this new facility, Metro North's hub of maintenance operations will be able to meet the ever-changing and growing needs of its aging fleet, as well as be equipped to handle its future expansion. The new state-of-the-art facility allows Metro North to perform its reliability-centered maintenance program and account for unscheduled repairs on their entire electric fleet of nearly 500 cars. As part of the strategic planning for this maintenance program, the facility has been equipped with a dozen car hoists, 4 pedestal tracks, and multiple door-level and roof-level platforms to assist in the preventive maintenance initiative and support Metro North Railroad's on-time performance goals. The second floor of this new facility is designed to streamline the parts distribution between the new electric shop, adjacent support shops, and the Consist maintenance shop by integrating a service corridor connecting all 3 buildings. An expansive 15,000 square feet training suite for ongoing training of Metro North maintenance personnel is also a featured aspect of the second floor. Additionally, Metro North support groups, engineering, quality, technical support, and maintenance planning are located in the new building to assist in the preventive maintenance initiative. Overall, the new building will be home to over 500 employees. For over 100 years, Harmon Yard has played a vital role in the railroad's daily operations. Through Metro North's foresight and diligent planning, design, and construction, the results of the Harmon Shop Replacement Program will ensure this yard will continue to play the same vital role for many years to come and help Metro North to meet their mission goal of providing safe and reliable service to their customers.
So as I said, it really is the model for all future shops across the operating agencies. It's a wonderful place. It really is a sight to be seen, and it's going to be a great place for our employees to work. We're 98% complete on the final project, which is Phase 5, Stage 2. It's a 250,000 square foot shop. We got our certificate of occupancy on November 9th. Crews are all moving in, getting acclimated to the new space. We have a couple more pieces of equipment we're in commissioning and testing right now. We should be done with that in 2 weeks, and then we'll reach substantial completion on this fabulous project. It's something we're really proud of and should be applauded. Moving on to the Park Avenue Viaduct Replacement, Phase 1. This is the spans between East 115th Street and 123rd Street. 750 trains and 220,000 customers travel at it each weekday. Fantastic project. Halmar International is the design builder here. They were the main civil structural contractor from Third Track. It's actually the same team that did all the bridge and grade elimination projects for us. So they took that innovation further and offered us a 21-month savings, which we reported last time. And they did that with really innovation on securing 2 custom gantry cranes, which I'll get into soon. Right now, they really started major construction in the summer. And they're doing substructure replacement, micropiles, foundations, and columns in advance of our span replacement, which is going to start in the second quarter of 2024. We have a short little video here just showing their technique on how they're going to get that done. So the beauty of their plan is it's not going to impact operations that much. They're going to use strictly weekend outages. So we're going to shut down the railroad on Friday night, 2 tracks of the railroad. We'll still be running 2 tracks under the gantry. The gantries will work in unison to do the demolition, as you see here, while trucks cycle down Park Avenue, removing the old spans off the site. At some point during the weekend, the one gantry is going to break off from the other and start doing some replacement with new precast spans that are staged right on site. They'll continue doing this. The other gantry will join in from the other direction. Happen any minute now. And then once the replacements are done, we'll start building the railroad again, laying tracks, laying our systems in, commissioning, testing, and by Monday morning, we'll have a 4-track railroad again for our rush hour service. Really innovative, minimal impact to operations. We could support the weekend timetable and operations with 2 tracks, and with the 21-month savings. We really want to advance to the next phase of this project. It would be a shame to miss out on the infrastructure. This is like an assembly line. Fantastic innovation, and we're really excited to move into span replacement next year. As highlighted in the 20-year needs assessment, the Grand Central Artery is the lifeline of Metro North, starting at the Park Avenue Viaduct, going through the Park Avenue Tunnel into the train shed. It's so vital for Metro North's operations. The deterioration in the train shed is continuing, as on the viaduct. We can't sit back. We have to address this and replace it. But we have to do it strategically. We have to plan properly because all of these projects are interdependent on each other, use the same resources and the same track space. So together we're forming a committee with the different groups, development, planning, and delivery, and C&D, to come up with the most efficient, effective, and aggressive plan to replace this over the next capital programs. This plan is vital to the success of Metro North. We have to put our minds together to find an aggressive way without impacting operations, and there'll be much more to come on this as we move into 2024. On the other side of Park Avenue is the train shed. We are already advancing construction on Sector 1 with our partners JP Morgan Chase. The project's going great. That's 48th Street. We've paved that over and opened it up to traffic to beat the holiday moratorium. We look to advance, but if you look on the chart to the right, Sector 1 is just a very small part of the puzzle. We have a lot of work to do, and the strategic plan to attack it is so vital, and we will have more on that as we move forward. Moving on to the Long Island Railroad program now. ADA Package 1, 9 stations. 7 stations will be ADA compliant for the first time. That'll bring us 117 of 126 stations into compliance, ADA compliance. We have an early milestone on the project to deliver Amityville, Copeg, and Lindenhurst in the second quarter of 2024. We've taken 3 weekend outages to install the structural steel, demo the old canopies, and we're moving right along. They're building the machine rooms as we speak, and we're really confident that this aggressive schedule will be met. Following that, Massapequa Park. We have an outage set up on the first weekend in December, after the first weekend in January, after the holidays, to do the structural steel there before we move west. Our goal is to be 100% compliant with ADA at all of Long Island Railroad stations. We have 9 left. Several are in procurement right now, with the remaining in design, and we're not going to be satisfied till we meet that goal. Jamaica capacity improvements. Before I get into the current project, I just want to do a recap of where we were. Phase 1 is complete. We took substantial completion last year on Phase 1. Phase 1 really delivered the Grand Central Madison service. We had to move the Atlantic trains to its own platform. We created Platform F and tracks 11 and 12. We also did a lot of interlocking work, and that interlocking work really opened the door for Phase 2. The overall program, it's a mega project, but it's so vital to our infrastructure. All of our branches, except the Port Wash, go through Jamaica. So we have to have a strategic approach to replacing all this outdated infrastructure, bringing it into a state of good repair, and increasing speeds through Jamaica. Overall, when the project is complete, we'll reduce travel time through Jamaica into Manhattan. So, hall expansion. We had a yard here with 2 dead-end tracks, and the project is really going to install a 280-foot bridge over our Atlantic branch. If you look in the picture, access to that site is extremely limited. There's one hole in the entire elevated section that's 150th Street. That's the only access to the site. It's the biggest risk on the job to move material in and out of this job. So Long Island Railroad disconnected the tracks, relocated all the utilities. We turned the site over to our new contractor, MLJT. One goal for MTA C&D is to widen our contracting pool. MLJT, this is their first project with Long Island Railroad. They've worked in city transit, and so far so good. We're moving along. We're co-located in an office with our project management team, and they're working through the risk on how they're going to get the material into this site. We're also working with Long Island Railroad to secure trains, work trains, to bring the material there. That's really the only way to do it. We're going to use a brand new technology. We're going to build the 280-foot span on that old yard and roll it in on a launching mechanism on tracks over the Atlantic branch. Every day, trains are going to be running on both sides of them and under them while they're working. It's the biggest risk of the job. The team's identifying the risk, securing the outages, and we're real excited to get into construction on this as we move into 2024. New to the Railroad Business Unit is the Harold Regional Investment Projects. When Grand Central Madison and Eastside Access completed, the remaining projects were transferred over to the business unit. What the program is, it's really to deconflict routes on trains moving in and out of Manhattan. Harold interlocking is the busiest interlocking in North America, and every time trains, Amtrak trains, need to cross through the railroad center of Harold, we have to wait because they have to climb the ladder back and forth to get in and out of Manhattan. So we have 2 projects ongoing. One is the eastbound reroute. It's a 480-box structure that is complete. The project's 80% complete overall. We have to build a railroad now to connect it into the system. But it's creating the avenue for Amtrak trains and the future Metro-North trains to go underneath the existing trains going into Manhattan, coming out of the tunnels. That addresses the eastbound traffic. Westbound bypass is a future project, which we have in design right now. That's going to address the westbound traffic, creating another tunnel and 2,600 feet of track and utilities to decrease conflicts and create advanced travel through Harold. We're not going to advance this project until we get full commitment from Amtrak on resources and outages. That's the biggest risk of this job. So we're negotiating with them right now, looking for their commitment to advance this project, and hopefully we're going to get this out on the street in 2024. The last project I'd like to highlight is the Webster Avenue Bridge. It's in procurement right now. This is over 125 years old. This bridge has been downgraded several times. It's restricted to loads of 3 tons right now. If you look at that picture, Long Island Railroad workforce put screw jacks in to support this bridge. It's a major liability to our train traffic. We don't, this is a road bridge over the railroad, over our Port Washington branch. We're really eager to replace this bridge because it is a risk to our operations, and we're really happy it's in procurement. We could tackle this project and replace this bridge over the next year. That's my update. I'm going to turn it over to the IAC now for their update.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm Sirish Payeti, and I will be presenting the IEC's review of the Railroad Business Unit. The IEC is reporting on 4 railroad projects this month. Project reports, which contain specific details on budget, schedule, and risks, begin on page 14 of your committee book. Metro-North Railroad, Harmon Shop Replacement Project Phase 5, Stage 2. This project is a construction of the running repair support shop. The project is 98% complete, has a total budget of $440 million and was awarded October 2018 with an original substantial completion date of April 2023. Since the IEC's last report in March, substantial completion has slipped from October 2023 to December 2023 due to underperforming subcontractors and completion of critical equipment. IEC notes productivity has recently increased and additional work shifts have been added. As just mentioned by C&D, the support shop offices have recently been occupied. With a final push by the DB and subcontractors and the completion of the testing of the car maintenance and repair equipment, the IEC forecasts achieving substantial completion in December 2023. Once achieved, this marks final completion of the Harmon Shop and Yard, a multi-phase, nearly $2 billion program that has taken place over the last 20 years, which has replaced an over 100-year-old support facility and improved the railroad's overall maintenance and service operations. Park Avenue Viaduct Replacement Phase 1 involves replacing entire sections of the elevated track substructure and superstructure located between East 115th and East 123rd Streets while maintaining daily Metro-North Railroad commuter rail service. The project was awarded in December 2022, is 23% complete, and at this early stage, the project is on budget and on schedule with a completion date of April 2026. The IEC notes that C&D is focused on mitigating potential risks that would significantly jeopardize commuter rail service during reconstruction, and the proactive actions developed include inspecting fabrication and delivery of the two gantries to maintain the schedule, securing redundant equipment and spare parts to avoid schedule impacts and delays due to unforeseen breakdowns and equipment failures, and coordinating the protection of existing utilities, roadbeds, and adjacent properties with third-party stakeholders. The IEC concurs with the mitigation strategies. Lastly, C&D has reviewed lessons learned from LIRR's Third Track and Atlantic Avenue Viaduct projects, which have been incorporated into this project, such as the management of track outages. The IEC commends the significant public outreach that will continue throughout the duration of the project. LIRR. LIRR's ADA Package 1 is the first of several ADA projects that will bring full accessibility to remaining LIRR stations system-wide. Package 1 provides accessibility improvements at 9 stations. The project was awarded in December 2022, is 11% complete, and at this stage is on budget and on schedule with completion forecast for December 2025. High priority risks and mitigations have been identified by the project team. Many are similar to challenges that have impacted Transit's station accessibility program. Verify availability of in-house resources and subcontractor staffing. Provide detailed schedule analysis to support the elevator installations planned for second quarter 2024, and prioritize the delivery of long lead items related to the elevators and architectural finishes. The IEC concurs with the mitigation strategies. In addition, the IEC finds value in the project team coordinating with C&D Stations BU to share their lessons learned and successful risk mitigation strategies from prior accessibility projects to minimize disruptions on this project and be better prepared to address problems during construction, specifically issues concerning the project's team's abilities to successfully install, test, and commission multiple elevators simultaneously. Jamaica Capacity Improvements Phase 2 Hall Interlocking addresses track, signal, and infrastructure improvements that will reconfigure and improve LIRR's train throughput and system flexibility and provide upgrades to the state of good repair at Jamaica Station. JCI Phase 2 Hall Interlocking Expansion was awarded in December 2022, is at 11% completion to date, and at this early stage is within budget and on schedule with completion forecast for October 2026. Risks to completing the project on time and budget have been identified and mitigations developed to address the main concerns, including early coordination by the project team has minimized the risk in obtaining planned track outages. verifying the availability of in-house force account personnel by the early coordination of upcoming JCI work with competing projects, and C&D is requesting a detailed constructability analysis addressing all risks associated with access problems to remote, landlocked work locations that are needed throughout construction to deliver materials and equipment for the project duration. The IEC considers these actions by the management team to be proactive and effective in mitigating the challenges posed by these potential risks. Quarterly traffic light report. Sorry. Lastly, the Railroad Business Unit is also monitored by the IEC through the quarterly traffic light report. The latest report, to be presented at December's CPC, reviewed 82 projects this quarter for cost and schedule performance by the IEC. Only 4 had a schedule variance, and there were no cost variances. The details for the quarterly traffic light report will be in the December 2023 book. And I repeat, there are no cost variances in this quarter for this business unit. Mr. Chairman, this concludes our comments on the railroad business units. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The chair just went out to check into whether we have a quorum for the procurement package. So in the meantime, I'll see if there's any questions, members of the board. Okay. Then we may hand it over to the vice chair if you'd like to call, or would you like me to call on our general counsel to submit the procurement package? Actually, I'm not entirely sure we have a quorum, so. Go ahead, yeah.
We can say that at the
Yeah.
board meeting. We can say that those present either recommended or didn't recommend. We can go forward that way. We would need the quorum for approval, but this is just a recommendation at this point. So I'm happy to present. We're
Yeah,
happy to present.
we'll present vice chair if that's okay
Or we
with
can
you.
wait for the chairman to come back with his round.
Yeah, they'll present it. They'll present them now.
Who will present the items? Okay, why don't we present the items, and then we can make a recommendation, have a vote at the board meeting. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Construction and Development is presenting 2 competitive procurement actions totaling $122 million to the Capital Program Committee for approval this month. Is it on? Okay. The first action is to approve the award of a contract for design-build services. Thank you. To replace and upgrade New York City Transit central alarm monitoring and fire alarm systems. The second action is to approve the award of a contract for design-build services to replace and upgrade the public address customer information system along New York City Transit's Canarsie line. These items are described in detail in the staff summaries contained within your committee books, and I hereby submit them for your consideration and vote.
Can we, any questions? Can we have a vote to recommend these to the full board? So moved. Second. All in favor? Any opposition or abstention? The items are recommended to the full board. I think that concludes today's agenda. Do we have anything else? Motion to adjourn. Mr. Albert, thank you. We are adjourned.